everyone. Welcome to the first meeting of 2018 Millbrae City Council. Roll call, please. Four out of five members. Mr. Lee is... 4 out of 5 members present. Mr. Lee is excused. Okay, and I need a copy of the agenda. Sorry. Everybody, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first bit of business here is we have a ceremonial presentation from the Caltrain electrification project.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you for this opportunity to present to you the it's really a Caltrain project, but there's a large portion of it that involves PG&E. So for the record, I am Bill Chang, PG&E Public Affairs Representative covering San Mateo County and all the 20 cities, including Millbrae. So thank you for this opportunity. With me, standing next to me is Brent Tejan from Caltrain, who will present to you the main part of the presentation. And also with us is Jessica Albietz, who is with PG&E's Capital Projects Division, and she is here to tell you about the PG&E portion of the project, and she can also answer any questions pertaining to the PG&E portions. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Brent. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Happy New Year. I came and presented on this project back in September, I believe. I just wanted to provide you a quick update on where we're at, particularly with the city of Millbrae. And afterwards, Jessica Albietz from PG&E will be giving an update on the PG&E portion of the project as well. So a quick reminder that the Caltrain systems runs from San Francisco down to Gilroy. As part of this project, we will be electrifying from San Francisco to Tamian Station in San Jose. That's over 51 miles of rail that we'll be electrifying. The Caltrain system has over 32 stations and has 92 weekday trains. And we have a number of intermodal connections, including BART here in Millbrae, ACE, and VTA down in San Jose and Santa Clara County. Caltrain ridership has grown since 2004, since the introduction of the Baby Bullet. Nowadays, we see over 60,000 riders using our trains per day. Carrying those 60,000 riders is an aging fleet. Some of our fleet was built in 1985, over 30 years old, and is at or near its end of its useful life. And I apologize, I'm going through these slides quickly because these were presented back in September, but I will provide an update on where we're at. So as I mentioned, the electrification project is electrifying 51 miles of rail from San Francisco to Tamian Station. It includes two portions. One is the installation of the overhead contact system, the OCS, which is a foundation, pole, and wires, and then the installation of traction power facilities along the corridor. It also includes the procurement of 92 electric trains, which will electrify 75% of our current fleet. This will not increase the speed of the trains, but they will be at 79 miles per hour, but it will increase the service that we are able to provide. Currently, we provide 5 trains per hour per direction. With this project, we'll be able to provide 6 trains per hour per direction, allowing us to have more station stops or reduce travel time. This project will also restore weekday service to Atherton and Broadway. So a quick example of what the service benefits looks like for this project. Currently, we have, for one train, we could have 5 or 6 stops. That can be done in 60 minutes. With this project, we can have those same 5 or 6 stops in 45 minutes. Or we can have the San Francisco to San Jose full 50-mile transfer to take 60 minutes. That would have 6 stops. With that same 60 minutes, we can make 13 stops with the new project with electrification. There's some key regional benefits: reduction in greenhouse gases, reduction in daily traffic congestion, as well as reduction in engine noise, which is important for those living next to the railroad. as well as cleaner air for our region and better ridership for our system. A quick update, all funding has been secured for this project, both local, state, and federal. In May of 2017, we secured a $647 million grant from the federal government for the core capacity grant. And notices to proceed for both the electrification, the infrastructure side, as well as the multiple units, the train side, were issued in June of 2017. A quick update on the schedule. We had a groundbreaking in July of 2017. Our foundation work, the actual construction work, started in October of 2017, and we're looking at the first trains arriving in 2019. There'll be quite a bit of testing going on with those trains, and we're looking at passenger service starting in 2022. We had quite a bit of outreach last year for the electric train design. And this year, we're excited to announce later this year, we'll have a virtual reality tour where folks can come to the office in San Mateo, or we'll actually have outreach events as well where they can put on some virtual reality glasses and see the new trains in 3D. So we have broken this project up into 4 different segments. The first segment is from San Francisco to Brisbane. The second segment is from South San Francisco to Menlo Park, which includes Millbrae. The third segment is from Menlo Park down to Santa Clara. And then the last segment is Santa Clara to San Jose. It's important to note these segments because work won't be occurring in 2 concurrent segments at once. So right now we are in segment 2 and segment 4 doing work, and I'll provide an update on the exact work that's happening in Millbrae now. So there is some potholing occurring in Millbrae. That includes these trucks on the left-hand side here, these yellow trucks. They're on the rail. They actually come in and vacuum the dirt out. They're doing this to make sure that there are no conflicts with the locations of the foundations before they actually bring the drill rig out there and drill. This helps them get in and out when they actually do bring the drill rigs in. So for Millbrae, we are doing foundation work currently. We have about 40 foundations done in the city of Millbrae out of about 80. We'll be continuing that for the next 2 or 3 months. I'm happy to note, and I'm going to jinx myself eventually, but we have not received any complaints on any of the foundations we've done, both in South San Francisco, San Bruno, and Millbrae. We will be coming back in mid-2018 to install the poles and then install the wire as well. Here's a quick picture of what the foundation trains look like. Some of the foundations are built from a foundation train, which is a 6 or 7 car set that has the concrete and all the mechanisms needed to build the foundations, as well as there are some off-track drill rigs that are used as well if there's enough space on the right-of-way. As I mentioned, there's approximately 80 foundations and poles that will be installed in Millbrae. The foundation sizes, that's a diameter of 30 inches to 42 inches, and the foundations are spaced approximately 200 feet apart. The contractor can get about between 2 and 6 foundations done a night, so they could be moving anywhere between 200 to 1,000 feet each night. So we're not impacting one resident over multiple nights. The foundation work includes excavation, the installation of rebar and anchors, as well as electrical grounding and then filling with concrete. After the foundations are installed, the contractor will be coming back later to install the poles, which will look like here. There's a number of styles of poles, both wide, flange, and square, and the station will have separate poles which are painted. I believe the city planning commission chose that color late last year. After the poles are installed, the contractor will come back and string the wire, and they can do about a mile in 2 weeks, so they can get quite a bit done there. So for construction impacts, a lot of the work will be taking place during the night. Some potholing work will take place during the day, but we do have to run our commuter rail service as well, so a lot of the foundation work will be done at night from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. There is some 24-hour weekend work that occurs, and crews will utilize acoustic barriers, noise blankets, as well as make sure that lights are positioned away from the homes. We do have a dedicated hotline for construction complaints, which I'll leave up at the end of the presentation. Folks can subscribe at caltrain.com/PCEP construction. That really gives you a week-by-week basis of what is occurring on the right-of-way for this project. And you'll go on there now and you can see that foundation work is occurring in Millbrae and will continue to occur for the next couple of weeks. And we will have additional community meetings in Millbrae before the pole and wire installation, and happy to come back to this council as well to present. In terms of public outreach, we have physical notices that we mail out to a quarter mile from the right-of-way, as well as we distribute door hangers, which you can see on the right-hand side here, to about 500 feet from the right-of-way. And this is how you can get in touch with us. You can email us at calmod.com, calmod@caltrain.com, or give us a call at 650-399-9659. We are responsive to comments, and the contractor is required to respond within a day to let the resident know that they received their message and they're working on a response. And we do encourage people to call and let us know if you have impacts to construction so we can work with the contractor to correct it. I'll now hand it over to Jessica Albiz to talk about the PG&E portion of the project, and I'll stick around for questions afterwards.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Albiz, and I'm the Principal Program Manager at PG&E as part of our Electric Transmission Department, and this is my first train project, so I'm very excited about it. And I just have 2 slides, so it's going to be very short. And the slide that you're looking at now is our best kind of display of how PG&E's lines cross the overhead contact system that Caltrain is constructing. So you can see in green are the utility overhead crossings, and they cross perpendicular to the overhead contact system that Caltrain is constructing. So we currently have lines that cross the Caltrain right-of-way. They are not high enough, most of them, so we have to raise those lines. And so that's why we are installing new poles in cities such as Millbrae. How do I go to the next? Okay, so impacts to Millbrae. So we call this segment 2.4. So this is part of the 4 construction segments that Caltrain has, and they've asked for us to raise our lines by February 22nd. So there are 4 overhead crossings in Millbrae that we need to raise. One of them's at Center Street, one of them's north of Hemlock and Mateo Avenue, and one of them's north of Millbrae Station at Sarah Avenue, and potentially, and then one of them's at Murchison Drive. And for each one of these crossings, we're replacing about 1 to 3 poles per crossing. And the new poles could be up to 75 feet tall, but that's the max. We have a range of poles from every 5-foot increment, pretty much. We're going to be our goal is to complete the relocations by the date requested by Caltrain, which is February 22nd. And in order to do so, we need those permits by January 16th, and we've already submitted our encroachment permits to the city. We also will be removing 2 trees near the Millbrae Racquet Club, and Caltrain will be planting 2 replacement trees in accordance with their environmental compliance requirements. And then finally, when it comes to the communication tenants, which is the Sarah Avenue crossing, is just only the communication tenants are in conflict with the overhead lines. And in that instance, we've notified them, and they'll let us know what they intend to do. So we'll take questions.
Councilmember Oliva?
Could you go back to the slide before that?
Yeah.
If you talked about the green poles, what are the blue poles?
So that's I'll let you talk to that.
Yeah, the blue poles are the overhead contact system for the electrification project.
But they already exist, is that correct?
They do not exist.
So those are getting installed when?
For Millbrae later this year. So
not by February 22nd or whatever it is.
We have to raise our lines. Sorry.
Okay, so you raise yours
Yeah.
first. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Question, sorry, Councilmember Schneider.
These are more long-term. One of the purposes of going to electrification is a reduction in diesel fuel, correct? So will the residents living on either side of the tracks, will they actually smell less and see less visible air pollution? Because what they're going to get instead are wires. It's a lot of wires, but we're getting a big reduction in air pollution. So I just want to make sure that the public understands the trade-off.
Yeah, there is a big reduction in the use of diesel as part of the trains, correct.
So anybody who's suffering from asthma or anybody that has breathing difficulties, this is a benefit, even though we're going to get to see more wires.
Yeah, and I should note that we also have recently submitted an application for to fully electrify our system, so there'd be no diesel is our full goal. So, thanks.
And the that's pretty much it. Thanks.
I'm sorry. Questions, we have developments that are scheduled to go around the BART station there. Although PG&E has nice wires, what are our chances of getting them put underground instead of above ground?
So we are replacing our wires actually as part of an agreement that was signed in 1932, I believe. So in 1932, it was overhead lines. So our requirements are overhead to overhead. Anything additional, you can talk to this guy.
Well, we'd like to know the cost on that. And PG&E in the past, let's just say your previous actions can always stand to be improved since 1932 was a while ago. There will be a problem, I suspect, right near the station area because there's going to be some, possibly, major developments happening there. So you want your permits. We got developers that want their permits as well. There should be some discussion going on here that, if there's going to be a lot of things happening there, we don't want to hold anything up, but nor do we want you to repeat your work and double the cost because you will likely be crossing paths.
Do we have a cost? Is there a dollar that you can throw at us?
We have not contemplated that as part of this. So the only reason we're moving up our lines is at the request of Caltrain. So the only reason that we're doing anything is because of that. So anything additional would have to be a request to Caltrain.
Okay, Caltrain.
Not to throw you out there.
I think that's what I was asking about the blue posts. Those are. Is there another design for that kind of blue post?
So these are designed for
Above ground.
Yes, above ground. The other option could be a third rail, but that really doesn't work with the number of grade crossings that Caltrain has.
Wait, say it again?
So there are other options, like a third rail, which BART has, to electrify the system, to electrify the railroad, but that doesn't work with the number of grade crossings that Caltrain has.
How many grade crossings are you doing away with
Yeah.
because of this electrification and because of high-speed rail?
We're not getting rid of any because of, we're not changing grade crossings because of that.
42 grade crossings, right?
There's 40.
42?
Our Caltrain person here. Well, Millbrae has one.
One grade and one pedestrian crossing, I believe.
Right, okay. So we would like Caltrain to consider here, particularly around our station area, that the requests be made. Our Caltrain person over here.
Come up with the money.
Come up with the money?
That's what I'm asking. What's the dollar amount?
So, there's a program called 20A that you may be familiar with, and money is put away by communities, or PG&E puts money away community by community to underground facilities. Otherwise, there is no mandate or requirement to underground unless the community can come up with the money.
And do you have any idea, Joan, what that?
No, I really don't have any idea what the cost
Millions
is.
and
And just to be clear, PG&E is a guest on our right-of-way. Caltrain owns the right-of-way. It's been a rail right-of-way since 1863. And the utilities you see out there by PG&E are out there by virtue of the fact that they're there at our good graces. So they do need to raise their utilities so that they don't interrupt with the electrical current and the facilities that we are putting in, and this is all pursuant to PUC regulation and rules. But they benefit from being able to use a right-of-way like a rail right-of-way to have their facilities, and they are there really with easements and as the guests of the train.
So you've described a right-of-way here. You've described an increased cost because they have to raise. So what we're asking for is what is the cost if Caltrain asks them?
PG&E is paying for the increased cost. Again, they are our guests.
I get that.
Okay.
But
right.
we're asking what would, instead of spending money for the going up, What would it be to?
Have no idea. It's not part of the project. It's not part of the project. I mean, the utilities that are out there have the choice of moving or altering their facilities so that they don't interfere with the electrical system. I mean, the right-of-way is there for rail purposes,
I
has
get that.
always been there for rail purposes. Everything else is subsidiary, just like our streets. Cities have streets. Everything is subsidiary
I
to
think
our
what the
streets.
mayor's asking is if I'm on the same wavelength.
get that.
I don't know that. No one knows. No one has looked at that. Hasn't been part of the project.
And I think part of the problem is here, no one looks at things till it's already done and you got to pay for it later here. We're letting you know we have major projects around that station area that your wires may interfere with PG&E. So, we've got high-speed rail coming through, supposedly. You've got those wires for your train, and PG&E has their overhead, which they are raising for your behalf. So we're asking you to consider at that area, both of you working together, what the cost would be for putting them underground at that area, because lots of things are happening there. So I know nobody thinks outside the box, but guess what? I think you should look at that. We're not saying everywhere, but we've got developers.
Just in your city, not in any other city.
No, I'm not even. I'm saying around the station area, because there are things that are going to be happening there, and wires may be moved later again.
Can I ask a question? So the wires, it says, would be between 55 to 75 feet tall. Do you have, I don't know, a plan for Millbrae? Because that's a pretty big range there. And I know, what we're looking at for our general plan is about 65-foot building height limit, so along the El Camino corridor. So if we're going up as high as 75 feet, that would pretty much be towering over anything else that we have in the area in Millbrae.
Yeah, and the reason for that is the height requirement is from the top of rail, so there's sag in between, and so that's why some of the poles have to be taller, but not all of them are, and the actual pole heights are in the encroachment permits.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you know specifically for these locations if they would be 55 or 75 somewhere in between?
I don't have the designs currently on me, but actually currently the third one at Sarah Avenue, PG&E is not planning any new poles. So that's just on here because of the communication companies that may need some accommodations for their wires that are crossing.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are these wires for the train hot? In other words, you get a bird that lands on them. Are we going to be looking at environmental?
They're an AC system, so they'd have to be touching both wires.
Do we have any birds that big? And as far as the noise go, we understand it'll be quieter. And we understand that maybe at least one city, which Joan lives in, to the south, is talking about a quiet zone and possibly looking at some of that. Of course, San Mateo has more grade crossings than we do. But if they're getting one, we're going to be looking at one too. And for those who don't know, quiet zone is at night when the ambient noise is less. We would like the trains to, the horn you just heard, we would like the horns to be lower, and certain cities have been able to do that. I'm sorry, Ms. Schneider.
Along that subject, we have to do a permit request to be a quiet zone. It's my understanding we have to do that city by city. So can we use this opportunity to direct staff to come back to us with whatever it takes to create a quiet zone?
I think, San Mateo's looking at it right now. If they can do the work for us.
No, we can copy from them, but it has to
that's
be
what I mean.
city by city. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct,
It's just
it
money,
does.
right?
Yeah, it will require money on the part of the city, but it can be done.
Yeah, so let's have them pay for it first and then copy them. I think probably the best way to go.
Didn't think it was that much more than a fairly simple application, but sure.
What you have to do, wherever there is a grade crossing, the reason the horns are required to blow where there are grade crossings, and it's for safety reasons. So these are federal regulations. So you would apply to the STB, to the federal government, and special crossing gates would have to be put in those areas where the horn would otherwise have to blow. And so that would be the cost.
So it's not letting San Mateo do the work. We still have to pay the money to apply for the
Correct.
process. So let's, before we direct staff to do anything like that, let's take a deep breath here.
Just letting them know we're looking at it.
Okay, we're looking at it. We're not directing.
We didn't direct,
Yeah,
but it's a good
Atherton has
idea.
done it. Atherton has
right.
Yeah, because Atherton just did it. And poor Britt. Any other questions? Well, we look forward to the nice new trains. Thank you very much. Sorry to give you guys such a hard time, but
no worries.
we got to ask questions here.
I have one question. Are you going to take down some of the poles that are already there, or are you just going to add more poles?
The question from the audience, which we don't generally take, but the question is a good question. Are you going to take down existing poles or just add new ones?
Yeah, when we install the new pole, if it's a PG&E pole, we remove it. If it's an AT&T pole, they remove it. That's the process.
We do have more public comments. If you,
It's going to be so much higher than a lot of things like Ruben said. It's so close to the airport. They're going to have like a red light or something on the top of that tower for small aircraft, large aircraft.
Okay, to repeat from the audience, because they can't hear on TV, is will the new poles that are so high have some sort of notification, like a red light flashing or something like that?
Very astute comment. So when poles are high enough, they trigger an FAA review. And so they complete the FAA review, and if the FAA determines that it needs extra marking or lights, they'll let us know. But currently, none have required that. But that is part of our project, so yes.
And since we have you here, and before we let you go, speaking of the FAA, your high-powered wires that go perpendicular on 101 and in front of the BART station area, since that's an alternative takeoff route, the first thing if a plane gets into trouble is going to hit your wires. Has there been any discussion of moving those wires due to FAA safety?
I don't know those wires specifically, but I do know some wires down near the San Jose airport where our pole heights have been restricted as a result of I can't remember if it's the takeoff or the landing, but the FAA does restrict our heights of poles if it's a safety issue.
And we know SFO has new regulations that restrict all of our building. You guys are higher than most anybody, so we might look into that. I don't know. You're already existing, so, but I've always been curious as to those wires in particular, because when we did have an incident at SFO, the alternative takeoff, I think, was over the BART garage and everything else. So it's a safety concern for all of us. Look forward to working with you all. Thank you very, very much.
Any questions?
Okay. Next on the agenda is agenda overview. Mr. Raffelli?
On the agenda overview. Thank you. The agenda overview, we have a report of bills and claims, which is added for information, and a report on the closed session December 12th, 2017 for information. Prior to going through the rest on the consent calendar, I do have information that I'd like to pass on to council and the community that has occurred over the last 15 days. That's still occurring in Millbrae. On Thursday, January 18th, Central County Fire will begin its winter 2018 CERT classes, the Community Emergency Response Team. It's a volunteer of local core of local residents who support local first responders during time of emergency and disaster. Participation in this 20-hour series of classes will learn how to take part in neighborhood response teams, cross-trained in basic emergency response skills. And to learn more, please contact Central County Fire. And the number is 558-7606. Central County Fire Community Wildland presentation. Joined Central County Fire for discussion. Presentation will take place on January 29th at 6 p.m. at the Hillsborough Town Hall. Senior Health and Wellness Fair on Saturday, January 20th. The city and local partners will host a Senior Health and Wellness Fair in a new interim community center behind City Hall. It will start at 9 a.m. Attendees will be able to get free blood pressure, health screening, talk with professionals about important issues such as fitness, diet, and eating, and even taxes. The event will conclude at 1 p.m. The event is free to the public. Sandbag stations, with the rain that's coming along, the public works crews have set up sandbag stations on Millbrae Avenue near the skate park. A second station has also been set up at the end of Oak Street near the landing lane flood plan. Residents who need sandbags to prevent flooding and water creep can get them for free at these two locations. And Millbrae also welcomes on Saturday, January 6th, the Peninsula Roller Girls. They will be training in Millbrae. They're here for a 2-week trial period and to end in January 16th. During that time, we will use a solo tennis court at Central Park for the practices on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. We have notified the public if there are any problems, who to contact, and we'll be making contact with the residents in that area. That's it. Thank you. Now, the rest of the consent calendar. Item 5, award of maintenance contract to Walshan Fire Protection Incorporated for automatic fire sprinklers retrofit at various city facilities. Resolution number 6, accepting 800 block of Hillcrest Drainage Improvement Project and complete the authorization filing of notice of completion. Item 7, resolution accepting the Highline Canal Trash Capture Headwall Project as complete and filing of notice of completion. Item number 8, resolution number 1, authorizing the city manager to execute professional services agreement with MIG Incorporated and CSG Consultants for contract planning and building services in a cumulative not to exceed amount of $1,200,000. And 2, authorizing the city manager to sign additional agreements for professional services related to proposed developments, such as expedited plan checks, traffic studies, geotechnical studies, etc., where the developers pay in advance for expenses that the city incurs. And number 9, receive information report on the purchase of a mini street sweeper, authorize a transfer from the general fund to the vehicle replacement fund, and amend fiscal year 2017-18 operating capital budget by $50,000. That's for information. The public hearing was a study session on Millbrae Sarah Station. That was for information. That has been pulled and will be brought back at a future council date. Existing business is none. New business action discussion and appointments to council subcommittees for the calendar year 2018, and that's for action. That's the completion of it.
Okay. Any items wish to be pulled from consent? Ms. Schneider?
Item 8.
Item 8. Okay, pull item 8. And as far as item 10 goes for the public, we have major projects that are being presented to the City Council that have passed through the Planning Commission, and we are trying to get the word out for public hearings as they relate to these projects. So please, we're going to try every way possible that we can communicate with the public. If you want to be here, if you'd like to make a comment, the Sarah Station one has been postponed. It should be at the next City Council meeting at 7 p.m. on the 23rd. The plans are on the website, so please take a look. If you cannot make the meeting, you can comment online so that the City Council knows what your thoughts are or questions are. These are major projects. Am I getting this right? Okay, and right now there are 2 big projects, one known as Millbrae, go ahead. Millbrae Sarah Station, which is the next council meeting on the 23rd, and the Gateway Project, which is February 13th. So please pass the word to your friends, and we are going to do our best on Nextdoor, the city website. We're going to reach out to the schools. We're going to reach out to everybody we possibly can to get the message out there, because this impacts everyone in the city of Millbrae, and we do want to hear what your thoughts are on each and every project that comes before the council. So we encourage everyone to please participate to the best of your ability and pass the word. Okay. Let's see here. Now we go to a report from closed session, or the yes. Have a good evening. Yes, Ms. Kastman.
I was just trying to remember what happened a year ago, right?
Yes, last year.
Absolutely, 2017. So you had a closed session on real estate negotiations, and my understanding, I did not attend, that there was no action taken.
That is correct. No action taken. Okay. We don't have any minutes to approve, I guess. All right. Moving on to public comment. This is a time when people in the audience or anyone here can comment on items not currently on the agenda, and we have several slips this evening. First, Wynn Gerchik. I'm going to say this right, Wynn? Gersich. I'll get it right. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that Gina Pappin mentioned about putting those lines underground, because isn't that why those lines were snapped in those hurricane winds? And right now, you've got those winds blowing outside. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is this. This is the most important book that anybody should read. It's called Population Control: How Corporation Owners Are Killing Us by Jim Marrs. It has everything about the bad water, the vaccines, the bad medicine, just everything that they're poisoning us with, the GMO foods, the fracking, you name it. It's in this book. And anybody that lives in this country should read it, because I'll tell you something, it also tells what we can do to organize and get this stuff stopped. One of the scariest things is this. On YouTube, it says Public Law 105-85. This law was made in 1997, of which the public didn't know, but they can spray in those chemtrails, funguses, flu, anything they want, biological warfare on us. And they said that we've consented because nobody complained. That's why I want every one of you to look up Public Law 105-85. Now on YouTube, there's a video. It's called Geoengineering, Waging Weather Warfare on World Populations. This is Dane Wigington, and he's talking about these gigantic cell phone towers that they're putting in. So between the stuff that they're doing to radiate us, to depopulate, these cell phone towers that are massive, they're part of the weather control thing of the HARP machine. Now, that was a new one. When he was showing it, I could not believe it. But the stuff that they have done with these massive towers that they have throughout the Bay Area, they control the weather with it too. And they were showing how when they shoot out these electromagnetic waves, that they had a flow of water, and the water was coming out of the fountain straight down. And then when they were showing these electromagnetic waves, these microwaves, it actually made the water go like in a stair step. And if our bodies are made out of water, what do you think it's doing to us? That's why this video is more important than anything: geoengineering, waging weather warfare on world populations. And this is what's happened with the Caltrans fire, the North Cal fires. Everybody check this out. North Cal fires aftermath. Proof Agenda 21 is being implemented. This is extremely important because it shows how they manipulated the weather and they created that stuff that happened up in Sonoma. And it was planned. And you've got to see these videos. There's a whole bunch. Check this one out and then look at all the other ones. This is one that's going to blow your socks off. This is on YouTube. It says Shocking NASA Deep State Plans for 2025 Population Culling. Actual documents revealed. Agenda 21. This is from NASA. And when you see this and know what they're going to do to us, they wanted to get rid of 90% of us by 2030. But the NASA plans are actually from 2025. So when you look up sustainability 2030, that's very frightening. But this is the one you all should check out. Shocking NASA Deep State Plans for 2025 Depopulation Culling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Janet Creech.
Aye. Mayor Pappen, non-existent vice mayor, council members, I'm here to ask you to name a vice mayor for 2018. This may seem simple enough. 20 years ago, Resolution 98109 was passed to clarify the process. On October 10th, Gina Pappen asked to have the item pulled from the agenda because Anna Leva was not present. On October 24th, Gina Pappen again pulled the item from the agenda. On November 28th, a really ugly council meeting took place. Anyone in the audience who has not seen this can watch it on MCTV or YouTube. Here are some tidbits. Ms. Pappen said that the public does not see actions that occur between council members. And later she made a cryptic remark about, I met with Ms. Schneider and we discussed this already. Both of these comments make me wonder about Brown Act violations. Ms. Leva patronizingly explained that Ann Schneider was just not doing her job and therefore did not deserve the promotion that she did. I have some questions. First, did the full council ever agree to ignore the protocol? The only thing I saw was Ms. Pappen telling the city council, the city attorney rather, that the council recognized the protocol and was ready to ignore it with a vote. Second, does a single council member have the authority to override the protocol without a vote? Later in the same meeting, 2 separate motions for vice mayor died for lack of a second. So my third question is, why doesn't Resolution 98-109 become default in light of the fact of the council's inability to take action to the contrary? Also, in November, Lou Sandrini asked council to follow the protocol in place at the time of the election. Todd Repp asked for the protocol to be codified. Rick Eastman explained the dangers of groupthink and elitism. On December 12th, Maureen Costello asked for the protocol to be followed. I asked for the issue to be revisited. Mayor Pappen acknowledged receiving 2 letters and a petition with 11 signatures. There's a Go petition online with 158 signatures, 75 more than last time I spoke.
Thank you.
My last question is, how long will you continue ignoring Millbrae voters?
Next speaker, Sandra Mangold, followed by Rose Miller Shabin.
Mayor Pappen, members of the City Council, I'm a 37-year resident of Santa Clarita. I don't come here very often. My topic is the council rotation, but I wanted to clarify a couple of things that you said about Caltrans. Number one, that train horn you heard was a...
Could you get closer to the mic?
Sure. The train horn that you heard is the freight train that comes through here at 7:30 every night and is not regulating. It can't be regulated, yeah. The other thing is that you were discussing alternate rail runways. Actually, they're used more than when there's an incident. When there's really bad weather, they use those runways for takeoff and landing, and I'd be more concerned about the people that are going to live under them than some PG&E poles. But I wanted to talk about the mayoral rotation. The discussion on November 28th was divisive and unpleasant in the extreme, and in my experience, unjustified. But let me be clear, this issue isn't about one council person, because all of you are subject to how the rotation protocol is implemented and manipulated. And I'd like to focus on how the protocol is written. I got a copy of it. I read it many times. It clearly outlines a procedure allowing for the smooth transition of mayoral and vice mayoral positions. It has provisions for several scenarios that would affect the rotation, and even a provision allowing for discussion of the protocol. But there is no statement, like in San Mateo's, that the council retains the right to deviate from the protocol. No statement. No provision for deviating from the protocol based on the candidate's ability to serve. And no provision for a disciplinary process that would support that conclusion. So it would appear that the current protocol does not support the action taken at the 28th meeting, And as a result, the public trust has been severely undermined and could have a negative impact on the community's support for your agenda and political future. Therefore, many of us would like you to clear the air by holding a public hearing on the council rotation protocol, including a full discussion of the actions taken on the 28th, the inadequacy of the present protocol, and the need to expand and codify the process so this doesn't happen to other people. This will ensure transparency and encourage a culture of cooperation and mutual respect. I look forward to a response from the City Council or City Attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. Rose, followed by Jean Wong.
Good evening, City Council. Happy New Year. I've lived here for 38 years. I attend some of the meetings, and I just wanted to express my disappointment in the fact that Ann Schneider was not seated as vice mayor. I think she's doing a great job. A lot of the citizens and residents of Millbrae are not happy. I'm speaking for myself, but I hear what goes on because I know a lot of people that live here, and I am just urging you to do the right thing and please give her her due seat as vice mayor. That's it.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wong? Followed by John.
Good evening. My name is Jean Wong. I've been a resident of Millbrae for 20 years, and I have a statement that I'd like to read to the council. It's been my observation that the actions of the City Council have not always been in the best interest of the City of Millbrae. For example, the City Council wasted valuable resources on proposed projects such as the temporary skating rink and the over-the-top plans for our new community center. I believe also that the City Council has failed to put in place qualified administration personnel to ensure that the City of Millbrae is effectively managed. How is it that the insurance coverage for the replacement of the damaged community center was inadequate? This inexcusable oversight will result in Millbrae homeowners having to pay more unnecessary taxes in the years to come. I do understand that running the City of Millbrae is not an easy job, and the challenges are many. But each council member signed up to take on these challenges when he or she ran for the office. From my perspective, it does not appear that the majority of the current council members have demonstrated that they are capable of governing Millbrae in a way that reflects a true understanding or a respect for the wishes of the citizens of Millbrae. A case in point are the recent actions of council members that violated what I believe the rotation protocol that has been in place since 1998 to fill the vice mayor position. These council members shamelessly and blatantly ignored the staff information report recommendation to follow rotation protocol and instead took action to prevent the rightful rotation of a council member to the vice mayor position. As a result, Millbrae now does not have a vice mayor. This is not okay, and it is imperative that the City Council ratify the situation immediately. On the other hand, these same council members enthusiastically approved the rotation of the vice mayor to the mayor position. One must ask, why was the rotation protocol followed for the mayor position but not for the vice mayor position? No reasonable explanation or justification was provided other than feeble attempts to attack a council member's character and competency. Council members should remember that it is the citizens of Millbrae, through the election process, that determines who is competent to serve in the City Council, not the individual members of the council. We are a nation of laws and rules. Protocols are in place for a reason. They ensure transparency, audibility, and a systematic way to run an efficient and effective government. We cannot allow City Council members, at their sole discretion, and to arbitrarily make changes to any established protocol. If we cannot rely on City Council members to follow the rules, then we as citizens of Millbrae will take action to codify critical protocols into law, implement new laws as necessary, and to elect new council members who will truly represent us and provide the leadership that is so sorely lacking today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wong. For the record, Ms. Wong, the community center was fully insured for the existing building as built at the time for that population. John McCullough, followed by Todd Repp.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members, and Happy New Year. My name is John McCulloch. I've been a resident of Millbrae for 55 years. So I was first here at 2 years old, same home. I've sat in that same chair that you have been sitting in as a volunteer, as the chairman of the Millbrae Beautification Committee back in the 80s, 90s, and as a member.
Could you get closer to the mic, please?
Sure. Wow, you people who spoke about the rotation and the vice mayor position and everything, I think is wonderful. I just came to say quickly that I do hope that you will all decide to go ahead and do what you need to do according to all the resolutions, the statutes, and have Ann Schneider as our vice mayor. I think it's correct. I don't try to involve myself too much in a lot of the things that happen in the city of Millbrae unless I really feel I should speak up. And that's why I took the time this evening to be here. You normally don't see me at the meetings, so I think that me being here means that to me that's an important issue that I want you to have her as our vice mayor as quickly as possible. And the second thing I'd like to say is I spoke to you when you came to my house, Gina, during the when you were asking for votes, and Wayne Lee, and I mentioned that I'm getting sick and tired of people cutting me off here in downtown, making illegal U-turns, and no cops, no nothing, no, I don't see anybody getting ticketed or anything happening. People blowing through the stop signs, doing whatever they want. If it says make a right turn only, they're going left. And as a citizen who knows the traffic patterns and what I'm supposed to be driving and doing, I'm expected to be able to drive and not have to always be defensive. So I'd like something to be done. You mentioned to me personally that this street is not a Millbrae street and police cannot give tickets on Broadway, which I think is unacceptable. If somebody's making an illegal U-turn with a big do not U-turn sign, they should be ticketed, regardless of whether Millbrae owns the street or not. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, speakers. I appreciate. Thank you.
Todd Rep.
Good evening, council members. Like everyone else is asking, I think, what's next? It's been a month since the fiasco that was the November meeting. It's been 3 months since this whole fiasco started. 22,000 people want to know the answer. Who's going to be the mayor next year? I think it's a fair question. People have asked for this to be put on the agenda. So far, it's been ignored. There's been a lot of things that have been ignored. When we said that we didn't want an ice rink, that was ignored. When we said we wanted a public safety committee, that was ignored. When we said we need more police on the street to enforce traffic, to look for burglars, to look for auto thieves, effectively, it's been ignored. We see an increase in all of these things. Tonight, here's your opportunity. We want to be educated. Who is going to be in that seat next year? Sandra brought up something that I thought was interesting. The protocol doesn't have a rule for what happens next. It doesn't mean that you can make up the rules, though. It means that we need a public hearing. It is your responsibility and duty as elected officials to give us that, to give us the public hearing, to give us our say, and to install Ann Schneider as the vice mayor this year and mayor next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Joe.
Good evening, Mayor Pappen and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm here to also express my thoughts regarding the vice mayor rotation, and frankly, I'm disappointed that this was not placed on the agenda for discussion this evening, despite the many calls to do so. Many people have already spoken on this, so I'll try to keep it brief as possible. Although I'm not able to attend all of the city council meetings, I do watch the videos, and thanks to MTV, and I must say that I was extremely disappointed and embarrassed for Millbrae when I watched the meeting back in November. I don't have any personal issues with any of you, and in fact, I would say that the extent of my interactions with each of you has only been positive thus far. I'm not as well versed on the workings of government and the city, and so I'll leave comments on those aspects to my fellow citizens to address. But after watching the meeting, I was concerned enough to get involved and felt it important enough to come here this evening to express my concerns. First of all, as other people have mentioned, I strongly believe protocols are in place for a reason, for the purpose of establishing order and setting proper channels and procedures. Mayor Pappen kept reiterating at the November meeting that protocols are not laws and that they may be adjusted at the direction of the council. And I don't dispute this at all, but I do think it's important to respect protocols that have been put in place for many years. And if there is a cause to deviate from them, there should be a clear reason for doing so. I did not see a clear case stated for going against the protocols at the November meeting, and I don't think it's okay to go against the will of the people as shown by the last election, where Councilmember Schneider came in second by only a handful of votes. I also don't think it is a good precedent to change protocol without that clear, valid reason, especially if it means not having a vice mayor at all. Secondly, I'm very concerned at the behavior of the council members at the meeting, where there were assertions of bullying and inappropriate behavior, and even a not so thinly veiled reference to potential racist behavior on the part of Councilmember Schneider. I'm saddened that the rationale for going against protocol came down to just such comments. And I really hope that this is not what we have come to in our local politics. I'm hoping that we can have a sense of civility restored to our local government. And finally, as I watched the meeting, one comment that kept coming up, which is, you don't know what goes on. This is actually a point of major concern for me. If there is a clear and valid reason why any council member is not fit for office to the point where protocol must be broken, then I think that's something that the people of Millbrae should be aware of. This is not a matter of airing dirty laundry, but a matter of public and transparent government that I believe is the reason for the Brown Act to begin with. And if there are areas that Councilmember Schneider needs to change, that you can instate her as vice mayor this year. And if there are really genuine and valid reasons remaining, you can bring that up at the next rotation.
Thank you.
So I'll end here, but please respect the wishes of the people. I think it would go a long way to restoring the faith in the local government. Thank you.
Okay, we have items for the consent calendar, everything except item 8. Okay, all items except, let's see, well, items 5, 6, 7, and 9 pass unanimous. Oh, I'm sorry, your votes. Excuse me. Pardon me.
Consent calendar items 5, 6, 7, and 9 are approved unanimously.
Okay, item 8. Ms. Schneider, how would you like to proceed?
I just had a couple of questions. So I'm pretty much on record of not liking to use a lot of consultants, and also on record that I had a concern on smaller permitting projects that in the old system, someone could come in and get a permit and then get a separate permit, and the two permits weren't getting linked. And at that meeting a couple of months ago, staff said that we have a new system now that will make sure that that doesn't happen. The reason I'm bringing this up under this is if we're using CSG to bring up people for the planning desk who are going to do smaller plan checks, and I don't want us to go into that same situation that a resident comes in with one idea and then their house evolves and they come in with a separate permit, and the two together go over the 500 square foot addition, which triggers a new set of rules, which is what happened to that house in Lomita. So when I read through this contract, first of all, I really wish we could use our own people and that we keep our people, but I'm uncomfortable because it talks about plan checking. And also at my meeting with the city manager last week on a different subject, we were talking about the desire, as heard from the public, about traffic around Millbrae, especially El Camino and especially around the station area. And the city manager told me that she hasn't been able to find a consultant with the right set of skills, complicated skills, more higher level skills that can handle the fact that we're going to be we are a multimodal station, but we're going to have high-speed rail, we're going to have this, we've got the airport and all of that. So again, when I read the staff report, it said that the consultant might be used for traffic. So here I've been told on one hand that the city manager says we haven't been able to find a consultant with the detailed skills. And I believe she said, there's consultants who are really, really big at dealing with really big multimodal stations, but they look at our project as not big enough to be able to attract them. And then you've got traffic in here. So I just wanted clarification. I want to make sure that we don't have the permit problem like we had in Lomita. And I do want projects to move along in a timely fashion. But when I read that traffic thing, clearly we didn't do a traffic study in the specific plan update. We talked about we're doing an active transportation plan as part of the general plan, right? What other traffic studies can we look forward to, since it's mentioned in the staff report?
For the viewing audience, you might want to give a little summary, if you don't mind, about this.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a staff report for consultant services, 2 different consultants, CSG and a firm, Dent? MIG. I knew it was 3 letters. MIGs for planning, plan check, traffic, and a third thing. And I didn't think it was that. I didn't pull up my own computer where I've got my own notes.
Why don't you tell us, and then please answer Ms. Schneider's questions.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Tanya Ward, Community Development Director. To put this proposal in context for the audience, this proposal will allow for a variety of on-call as-needed services that pertain to building, planning. It can also include environmental special projects, and those would be projects that are deemed above the workload or specialization that could be accomplished with existing staff resources. Having firms such as CSG and MIG allow the city to maintain that level of high service regardless of development workload and economy factors. To speak to Councilmember Schneider's remarks about staffing, I'd like to report that the department's benefited from the City Council's action of hiring in-house staff. That includes Deputy Director Tom Madalena, who's in our audience tonight, Administrative Assistant, Assistant Planner, and those positions have been in place for the last 7 months. In addition, I'd like to report that the building official started this week. So that's an in-house position, and as well as a housing and economic specialist position. That coordination for hiring is underway right now. So in regards to what we see tonight, we're probably seeing a summary of the services that are provided by each. I should mention that in the case of MIG, the services provided are paid directly by the applicant. So it's 100% reimbursed by the applicant for those services. And in some cases, the work that's performed by CSG is also reimbursed because there's some overlap in the expertise. Council may recall that the TOD projects that are going to be coming before you in the near future, there is some overlap of expertise, and so those are reimbursed by the applicants. In regards to the comment made about applicants making revisions to their submittal, having a system in place that can ensure that the instance of Lomita doesn't happen again, there is a new centralized database and system that the city will be going live with. It's currently in the process of taking the data that we currently have in one system and putting it into the new one. So that should be going live very shortly. But in the meantime, the internal process, regardless if it's in-house staff or it's a consultant, there's a centralized clearinghouse, and that's through the director. So when applicants come forward and they have an application, there's now a protocol in place where the application is reviewed by myself, and there is a review of any other subsequent projects that may affect it. So no longer are those decisions handled by any one person. The accountability stops with the director position. In addition, regards to plan checks.
1 second.
Sure.
You have something.
Well, just more specific to the resolution. The process, the background is the process development application in a timely manner. What does that mean? If you could be specific to that.
Timely manner. So So there's going to be state regulations on processing of applications, and that's going to not be a ministerial project. So, for example, for a planning project, there's going to be some state regulations that dictate the timing. For ministerial projects like building permits, business licenses, things like that aren't discretionary. They're either approved or not approved. The timing is based on, one, the adequacy of complete materials submitted to the department. So if an application is submitted that's complete, obviously the processing of it may go more quickly than one that it comes in as incomplete. So the process in which we ensure the timing is regulated by an internal process. So whenever we enter into a contract agreement with any consultant, we do have a timing expectation to make sure that it meets the city's requirements and what we consider our expectation, providing quality service, superior service.
So would that be probably the greatest benefit to this resolution?
Yes, I think it improves efficiency. It also ensures consistency with the projects, and also it also ensures that the city doesn't have to hire somebody when the economy is robust and the workload is heavy, and when times are lean and when the project workload decreases, we're not laying off our employees. Right. So there is that. We're already seeing a transition or handoff between the workload that the consultants are having now and giving that back to staff. We are seeing a change in the economy, or at least in the development proposals. The large proposals that are coming forth for the council, those really haven't slowed down because those are long-term projects. But the day-to-day permits are not as many.
Thank you.
Ms. Schneider's question, so please go ahead.
No, I think that's great. So that section when it talks about traffic, because per my meeting with the city manager, we talked a lot about what high-speed rail can come into Millbrae and require us to do. I don't want to use the word force us to do, but that we might need to be really looking at some significant traffic work so that we're prepared to work with them in something that's going to benefit Millbrae. So if this money is at all set aside for that ability, then I'm all for it. I just didn't know what it meant when it said traffic.
And I believe that there are going to be traffic studies that are going to maybe not be of that level. I can't speak to that conversation, but staff would be looking at any consultant service or in-house staff that provide that specialty. So I can't speak to that specific conversation, but staff can come forward with any recommendations based on projects that are submitted.
Well, an extremely important point that we're looking at major I thought that the station plan had somewhat of a traffic study in it, although already out of date, given current actions and population and all kinds of things.
So I don't want to confuse a day-to-day project with a larger project that's already underway. We can come back with a list of consultants that are doing those specialized studies. If there's any studies that are unfamiliar or it's just not known, we can bring that forward to the city manager.
And I think Councilmember Schneider is looking for the distinction here. Are you going to bring in somebody separately, or is this a little unclear? I don't know.
Just a little clarification. It could be the way the city manager and I left the discussion last week is we will have goal setting coming up, and if we collectively decide that we want to look into research to get us ready to deal with high-speed rail, that it would be a good discussion to have, and at that point we would identify what those needs might be.
That's not the resolution.
This was just traffic. That's why my question was just, is this traffic just in general or traffic for high-speed rail?
I would say this is more of a general nature. This is not of a specialized project or aligned with any specific project. This is just to be prepared for those types of analysis that are general in nature.
Okay. Ms. Schneider, has you answered your questions? Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Hollenberg?
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I have a motion by Councilmember Oliva, a second by Councilmember Holliver. Your votes, please. That's a tricky one. Oh, wait. Man, I didn't want that. This one's getting tricky. Hold on. There we go. Excuse me. I got to pay attention myself. Okay, go ahead.
Consent calendar item number 8 is unanimously approved.
Okay. And item 10 is continued. Again, I'll remind the public, at the next council meeting on the 23rd, there will be a public hearing, study session on the Millbrae Sarah Station development, which has gone through planning and will be presented for everyone's comments. And we encourage people to please participate. And if you cannot be here, please send us a message online, and we will get them and hopefully have a wonderful discussion. New business, item 11. Thank you, everyone. Council discussion and appointments of council subcommittees for calendar year 2018. Some of these were already made public. I got requests, from council members and tried to equally balance out the amount of other assignments to council members. If somebody wants to trade up or anything like that, please contact the person that's assigned and see if anything can be done about that. For the public's knowledge, we have several new subcommittees. I'm not sure budget and finance, but that one's been existing. Fire subcommittee is also existing. And we have the interview committee, but we have added, where's our additional? Not on here. Yeah, that one. May I borrow that? Thank you. Okay, we have the budget subcommittee, downtown enhancements, shared fire services, which I'm not sure how active that is. Oh, okay. Interviews, community center, which is ongoing, and that is kind of a joint subcommittee with several other participants from Park and Rec, and we will be going strong on that one. The technology subcommittee, we've added a data center to that, and I'm hoping that we can get that accomplished this year and move ahead on that front. Sewer modernization, as the public hearings have shown before, we have a lot of work to be done on that, and we're hoping that the subcommittee can assist and make sure staff is fully staffed and we can move ahead as quickly as possible. We have the cannabis further study subcommittee. For the record, cannabis has been banned in Millbrae. However, there are a lot of sub-issues out there that we need to deal with. People can have cannabis delivered to their home, kind of Uber-like, and all different things. So the subcommittee is out there to study all the different aspects that will impact the city of Millbrae. To be clear, although cannabis is legal in the state of California, you cannot smoke it in public areas. So nobody get the, Joan, I believe, am I not saying that correctly? You can smoke it in your own home and.
It's 6 plants. We already went through this.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, but no, I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't believe that's true.
So
What's not true?
That you can smoke it in public places.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
No.
Right. Okay, and then also.
Where is it on this?
It's on this one.
I know, but who's on that?
The specialist.
Ruben and I.
Oh, thank you.
In a public place.
Ms. Schneider, would you like to share?
I'm just trying, when we had the 2 experts in cannabis law, they had said that any place where the city had set up ashtrays could be implied that we're approving of smoking of any type in there. But I'm happy to get that clarified.
We will get that clarified, but
I think that would be great to
all the
clarify
news
that.
reports that I've heard, you cannot smoke it in a public place.
I don't think
ashtray
it's
or not.
gotten to that point.
So in addition to, we've talked for the public record to, the law allows people to grow 6 plants, and we can also regulate that.
Indoors.
Indoors, right. So, but we can still regulate that and a whole bunch of different sub-issues that we want to be on top of. A secondary where am I here? Oh, and bike sharing. You've seen in some cities right now different color bikes that you pick up at different areas, and you can drop off at different areas. We've been
on that committee?
Ms. Schneider and I.
Oh, because it's not written down.
Wait, Angela, did we not get that done?
No.
Oh, I thought I gave you those over the phone.
I thought I was on the tech committee.
You are.
Who's on the cannabis?
Oh, here. It's on here then. Okay.
Ruben. No, it's.
I'm sorry, I gave these to Angela on the phone, and we'll clarify those. And I didn't bring them with me. Anyway, I'm hoping on the bike committee, it'll be Ms. Schneider and I. On the cannabis, Ruben and I.
It's all yours.
Yeah, thanks. There you go. And I'm sorry, I filled those in, and I guess they didn't get published. The budget subcommittee, Ms. Schneider and I.
You're going to be busy.
I know. Downtown enhancements and
Mike,
fire.
please.
I've got to look.
Mike.
Oh, excuse me.
This is an action item, so I think we need to.
Okay. Then I wish I brought my notes here because I did give them to Angela over the phone. Do you not have those, Angela?
Can I make a trade?
You can bring one up.
Ruben, if you're on all those subcommittees, can I have the tech committee?
I think I put you on the tech committee with Wayne.
No, it's Ruben and Wayne.
I think these are.
These are the old ones.
These are the appointments from last year.
So what's this year's, Gina?
Did we not print out? Okay, this is not good. First off, Angela, do you have the subcommittees that I gave you? You didn't bring that. Okay. All right. And this that was handed out, let me see if this is correct. And this is not up to date. It didn't print out. Hold it.
Because it says appointed at 1/10/17. We're in year 18.
Right.
These are last year's.
Okay. Let's.
Well, they're last year's with modifications, though, because.
Yes,
No, I mean,
somehow it
right
didn't
here.
save.
It didn't save the
Right
bottom
there.
ones.
Just those six.
Okay. Yeah, the subcommittees, as I had intended here, for the record, budget and finance, myself and Ms. Schneider. Okay. Fire, I believe that was Wayne. And I don't know why this didn't print right. Wayne was the primary on that one. Community Center is Ruben and I to continue that one. Interview was Annie, Oliva, and Wayne.
So fire is Annie or Ann and Wayne?
Ann.
Ann
You.
is fire.
Yes.
Okay, fire, okay.
I apologize, I don't know why this didn't print out here. Community Center, Ruben and I. Downtown enhancements, we'll keep that the same with Annie and myself. Technology/data, Annie and Wayne.
Oh, good. I got 2 more committees.
You said you could get the job done.
I can do it.
So I'm expecting it to get done. And yes, Ms. Schneider, excuse me.
Bicycle.
No, oh, no.
Oh, yeah, the bicycle. Where's the bicycle one? Why is that not on here? Okay, the bicycle sharing. I would like Ms. Schneider and myself to handle that. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Sewer modernization, who did you put on that?
Sewer modernization, I believe I put Annie and Wayne on that. Have fun.
I like it. I'll follow Sam Bruno. They have a whole plan in place.
Are we okay with that then? So can I fill it in on yours, Ms. Schneider here?
Sure.
Okay.
Could we get a master, Angela?
Yeah, we will. I thought I emailed it to her, and obviously it didn't save.
Well, just because we'll get the meeting times and all that.
Once I look at what was sent, I'll send it to the mayor just for final review to make sure everything is correct, and we'll get that out to all of the council members.
Thank you.
Cannabis, that's you and I.
That'll be a fun meeting.
And I intend that the Cannabis Committee involve people from the public. I think we need to bring the school district into that. And I spoke to one of the leaders from the anti-committee that was here earlier. And we want to really make sure we include everybody in how that progresses.
So just so I could be clear going forward, the top, other than the subcommittees, is correct? Or should we just wait for a new?
I believe it is correct. I will double check it.
Okay, so we'll just wait for a new email.
I'm pretty sure this is correct, except for the shaded portions, which didn't come out.
Well, there's some shaded on the top.
I mean the bottom. Right. Okay, sorry. You're going to be difficult. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Just trying to do my job.
The last 6 and the new additions. Okay.
3 new additions from the sheet.
Yeah.
From the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Bicycle.
These here. Okay, my apologies for the technical difficulty.
It's all easy.
Is there any questions?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Is this an action item or not?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion, a second. And a vote.
The council has unanimously approved the subcommittee appointments for calendar year 2018.
Okay. And next, I lost my agenda here. Where are we? Council comments. Mr. Holliber.
I don't have anything new to report. I haven't had any meetings with the holidays. But I would like to reiterate a comment that was made by the Deputy City Manager earlier this evening regarding CERT classes that will be beginning on January 18th. And I believe that's at the Jacuzzi Room. That's where it's usually held. So a good opportunity to get involved and learn about community emergency preparedness. Very important group, for our community, and just good skills to have overall. So something I would highly recommend. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we progress too, I'll remind everyone, please, if you cannot attend your delegated meetings, please notify your alternate so that they have time to prepare and attend. Ms. Schneider?
First of all, Millbrae Lions is having their second in their fiscal year crab feed, the crab cioppino feed. It is a fundraiser. It's $55, but you can get crab or a huge steak or a huge chicken. So if you don't like crab, you can still attend. It's January 20th, Saturday, January 20th. Our last crab feed, or the Lions' last crab feed, raised $45,000 that went up to the fire victims in the greater Santa Rosa area. This time the funds raised will go back to providing money for all the things the Lions do in Millbrae. So please, and we would welcome new attendees. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me and I can get you connected, get you hooked in for tickets. And it's at St. Dunstan's on Saturday the 20th. I attended a San Mateo County League of Women Voters and San Mateo County Registrar of Voters workshop yesterday about California's Voter Choice Act. San Mateo County is again going to be one of the experimental counties for a new voting system as California moves entirely towards paper. What that means for both June and the November election is every registered voter in Millbrae will be getting a ballot. Now, the good news is they've brought in a special designer to make sure the envelope is more interesting and people don't throw it away. I'm a longtime precinct worker, and I will tell you, I handle a lot of voters who get that envelope and tear up their ballot. So I try to tell people, when you get that ballot in the mail, think of it as a $100 bill, put it somewhere safe. There are ways to vote if you lose it, but it's a little bit more awkward. What that means is they will now be opening voting centers. They're going to phase them in over a month, and then 20 days, and then 10 days before. 10 days before, the closest voting center for Millbrae will be San Bruno. The weekend before, we're now going to have weekend voting. So here in Millbrae, we will have a voting center open in June at the new, and I don't know what we're calling it, temporary community center. So it will open on Saturday before the election, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And for the first time in California's history, you will be able to do day of election voter registration and vote. So there's a couple of really big changes. They gave us some interesting data. The biggest hope for this is that they get the underrepresented groups voting more. Millbrae has higher than average for San Mateo County because we have a great senior population. But in our area, only 17% of the Latino population votes, 18% of the Asian, and really sad, 8% of the 18 to 24-year-olds. So they're trying to do some real marketing outreach to all community groups. I sat next to a woman who's from the Persian community, so trying to get all the various communities out. And to the community groups in Millbrae, be you a church, a civic group, if you would like to help get your members informed of how to vote with this new system, the county is looking for your contact information. If you go to the county's website, which is called shapethefuture.org, and keep scrolling down for voting, they are trying to collect and expand their list of community partners for the education of that. So this is an exciting time. It's going to be a lot of change. It does mean that the workers at these new voting centers, as they will be called, will be more highly trained, and we'll be able to help people with voting problems. And one of the still outstanding issues that could affect a great deal of our population is signatures. I can use my folks as an example. When we moved to Palm Avenue in '74, they registered to vote and haven't changed their voter card since then, and yet their signature has changed greatly. So I think you're going to be finding more information about signatures. There's a current pending legislation about not throwing a vote out because someone's signature has changed over time due to age or disability. So please keep a track on that, and if you're a community out there, please contact San Mateo County Registrar of Voters. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. The voting plan, comments are due by January 19th. That's why I brought this up. So you've only got 9 days if you've got any comments about the voting plan to get it in.
Ms. Oliva.
So me, like the rest of, I hope you guys, were on holiday mode. I got back to work this week, and I had the opportunity to attend the San Bruno Mayor's State of the City reception today, and I'm happy to say that they are putting in a swimming pool in their rec center, swimming pool area, whatever it is. So I think that'll be nice to have a neighbor that has a good swimming pool for all the people in Millbrae that we're hoping that we would have one. We can basically walk.
So for clarification, this is in their San Bruno Park.
Correct. They have a pool now, but with their with all the proceeds that they've gained from their horrific their accidents, they're able to put in a huge aqueduct facility, and they're putting a gym in as well as we are, or we hope to. But we will have a pool that is right near us. So that was something that I wanted to share with Millbrae today.
And our city staff is supposedly talking to San Bruno because it was a big request from the public as we were trying to get ideas for the recreation center.
And ironically, they hired the same design people as we had for our community center. They have the same design group out of South City doing theirs.
So we have listened, and we are looking for swimming or aquatic alternatives to accommodate the city's needs.
Yes. Okay. So it'll be nice to have it right next door.
That would be great. Anything else, Ms. Olive?
No, that's all I've been doing for the last 2 weeks.
Okay, very good. Happy New Year to everyone. The Transit Authority, Caltrans, and CCAG is holding a public hearing meeting on 101 managed lanes. I'm looking on my phone here to get the details. And Thursday, January 11th, that's this week at 6 p.m. in the Jacuzzi Room here in Millbrae. For those who don't understand what the managed lanes are, 101, they're looking at putting in a carpool lane or an extra lane. You do need to comment and give them your opinions on if you think this would be appropriate. They have various plans that they are looking for comments and approvals on. So this Thursday, 6 p.m. in our Jacuzzi Room, please come and give your input as to what you feel should lessen the soul-crushing traffic, which we currently have, and also plays into the developments that will be happening in Millbrae. We are the largest intermodal center west of the Mississippi, and public transportation is key. One thing that I've discussed with other council members, and hopefully we'll bring up in this council too, is the lack of connection to SFO that BART currently has. We are a direct connection from BART to SFO, yet the only direct trains are after 9 p.m. and on weekends, which is just insane. So we're looking to get a kind of regional, all of the cities in San Mateo County on board to either have BART improve their connection, or a dramatic alternative would be for the airport to bring their air train into our station, so that would reduce traffic. And they charge an extra $5 for the connection. 45 million people go through SFO. We are the largest regional connection there and airport. And I think the primary way to reduce traffic would be to increase that connection, common sense wise. The BART to Oakland Airport is every 6 minutes. Kind of crazy. Ms. Schneider, yes.
Just something to think about. With the addition of this managed lane is a lot of money to go do that. And one of the ways to reduce some traffic on Millbrae Avenue is to have an additional change to the off-ramp from 101 South over Site 7 and into the BART tracks. So I've mentioned that to the director of SFO. He wasn't aware of managed lane because that's not immediately something they think about. But given that there's going to be all forms of other funding coming in, if we can work that, that'll take some of the traffic off of that stop line by the Chevron station for people who are thinking about Millbrae Avenue, and pressure off of Rollins Road and Millbrae Avenue. So it's just something, I don't serve on any of those committees, but keep that in mind. It's an opportunity.
Thank you. Again, I will encourage everyone as to the developments that are happening in Millbrae. The public hearings will be next council meeting on the 23rd, and the February 13th council meeting open to the public, and you can comment online. So we had memory of an individual in Millbrae passed away recently at his parents' home, Stephen Abrams, 53 years old, very tragic. So we will close this evening. Oh, yes, excuse me. And Lady Lion Becker. Yes. I'm sorry, I did forget that one. My apologies. So, and the memorial for that is this week, I believe.
The 19th, the day before the Lions practice.
Okay. All right. So with that, Happy New Year, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.